Hello and Merry Bookmas! Today we're doing the end of year book tag. It took me quite a long time to think about the answers to all of these tag questions, and I was so indecisive, but I've made my list. I'm sticking with the list. I didn't get tagged by anybody, but that is okay because I'm going to tag all of you. So let me know in the comments if you're going to film your own end of year book tag. But there is a lot to get through in this video, and I'm hoping it's going to be quite snippy, seeing as this is an extra bonus Bookmas video for you guys. Let's dive in. Let's see what I've been reading this year and see which categories all these books fit into on the tag. Just a note, whilst I don't think any of these tag questions are specifically negative, I am going to be speaking critically about some of the books I've read this year. I'm also going to be speaking very positively about some of the books I've read this year. So if that is not for you and you don't want to see my critical opinions of some of these books, then feel free to skip this video and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, kicking off with the first question, which is the most disappointing book of the year. Wow, they really know how to start this one. I feel so bad, but I'm going to caveat this with saying I am going to be trying this author again. It was the first book I read by this author, and I have been told I started with the wrong one, but it is Satanic Shadows by Lee Rivers. My friend Emma loves Lee Rivers. I would go as far as saying my friend Emma's favourite author is Lee Rivers. I know that the Little Stranger duet is very popular, and I think the Edge of Darkness trilogy that comes before that is very popular and very well rated. Okay, backstory. Here's how I got around to reading this book first. I went to go and meet Lee Rivers at Rare London this year with my friend Emma. She had lots of books to get signed, and my friend Emma had been telling me for so long that I needed to read some Lee Rivers, and I don't know why I didn't just take her recommendation, but I got up there, I got to the table, I panicked, and the woman behind the table who was selling the books was like, oh, which one do you want? And I was like, you know what, if I was to pick up one book that would give me the taste of Lee Rivers, like, where do I start? What do I pick up? And the one that was recommended to me was Satanic Shadows. So I just went, yeah, absolutely, I will take Satanic Shadows. I will say this was an easy read. It was a fast-paced read. There was some good spice in here. And for this to be the most disappointing book of the year is definitely a stretch for me, but I think that's just because I read lots of good books this year. This one just wasn't for me. It's not put me off Lee Rivers. I am going to give her other series a go. I think the other thing that wound me up is somebody told me this was a standalone. I think the woman at the table told me this was a standalone, and I bought this. This is not a standalone. It ends on a cliffhanger. Again, I don't want to say anything like overly negative about this. I just didn't enjoy it. It just wasn't for me and my taste personally. But I know so many people are obsessed with Lee Rivers, so I'm sure I'm in the minority of not liking this one. And it has not put me off trying the Edge of Darkness trilogy and The Web of Lies. Is that what the duology is called? I will try them. I'm maybe just not so much in such a rush to try them now. I'm sorry, Lee Rivers, I really do think your other books are going to be for me though. The next question is, what was an underdog book? I feel very confident in the choice I've made. This is a book that I think kind of came out of nowhere and has shot to popularity. I am one of the people that loves this book. This is a book that was originally independently published and had even a little mini run of author special editions, and then was pretty quickly immediately picked up off the back of its popularity. The book is Nightshade by Autumn Woods. This was the first book that I've ever read from this author, and I think that's another reason it's kind of an underdog book. I wasn't expecting to love this quite so much as I did, only because I hadn't read anything from the author before. But I feel like you came out of nowhere. I mean, there might be Autumn Woods fans who knew about this for months and months and months, but I think I literally only heard about this the week it released. I read it the week it released, I think, and then immediately, 2 weeks later, it was pulled from sale because it had been picked up by Pat Macmillan. So hey, you know what? Credit to her. She is a fantastic, academic romance, definitely on the dark academia side, with mystery and murder and this hot rugby player. I'm proud you're doing so well. I feel like this was the book that I wasn't expecting to take the world by storm. Not because of anything within the actual book, but just because I hadn't really heard about it, and then it has absolutely taken everything by storm. Good for you, Nightshade. Good for you. The next question in the tag is, what is a book that I read that was overhyped? So I read lots of books this year. They've had a lot of hype around them, but I think the hype is justified. Some examples of those would be The Wolf King and Diabound. I think the hype there is earned. This one, this was fine. Again, I feel so bad saying this, but Gothicana by Runix. I actually read this after reading Nightshade because I wanted something that felt like Nightshade, and also actually Nocticardia by Kerry Lake. I love Nocticardia by Kerry Lake. That one is probably my favourite dark academia gothic romance. So many people were like, you will love Gothicana. It will be a 5-star read for you. You're gonna adore it, including my friend Rosie. My friend Rosie really enjoys this one too. I don't know, she was fine. She was okay. In fact, I feel extra bad because my friend Rosie bought me this copy. I read the book. I enjoyed the book. The book was fine. I'm not in any rush to read Enigma, which I think is a spin-off or set in the same world as Gothicana. And I'm not in a rush to read any other Rue Nix books, although there are quite a few on my list that I will get around to eventually. This one felt like a bit of an odd one as well, because I can't say specifically this year I've seen loads of hype around this one, but I feel like Rue Nix and this book in particular last year and the year before was being so hyped. And now having read it, and I don't know if it's just like the context in which I'm reading it now in 2025, I don't know. This was fine, it was good. I think lots of people will enjoy this, and I did enjoy reading this, but it wasn't as amazing as I think everybody maybe said it was. For me, personally, this is my personal preference. So if this is your favourite book, I'm really happy for you. It was okay. It was fine. Next up on the tag is a book that surprised me this year, and that has to be Immortal Consequences by Ivy Marie. I didn't know this book was coming out. I knew nothing about you. I got sent a proof of this quite close to release, and happened to read it before release actually. I don't know what it was. It was just something in the blurb that really drew me in. And oh my god, this is easily one of the best things I've read all year. The only reason I say that is surprising is just because I didn't see a lot of hype about this book, and in fact I'm still not seeing a lot of hype about this book. I didn't see any kind of like huge push pre-release. I didn't see loads of reviews. It might just be like my channels and who I'm following. Maybe I don't have many mutuals that have read this. There could be this whole subsection of the internet that is obsessed with this. I'm sure there is. But you're what surprised me. You surprised me because I hadn't heard about you, but actually you ended up being one of the best things I read all year. This is YA Dark Academia, by the way, but it's set in the afterlife. It had a really unique concept. It is fantastic. It didn't quite make my top 10 books of the year, which if you haven't seen that video yet, it is coming soon, or I'll link it at the end. It will be around the same time period that I upload this. It didn't quite make my top 10 books of the year, but it was highly commended. It came in as a runner-up. Next up is my favourite book couples of the year. Look, Thea and Wilder. Thea and Wilder from Blood and Steel. For so many of these questions, I could have said the Legends of Thesmar series by Helen Scheurer. I'm trying not to. I am intentionally trying not to say this book for like all of the good answers, but I couldn't pick another favourite book couple. Thea and Wilder really did it for me. In fact, the reason I prefer Legends of Thesmar as opposed to the Ashes of Thesmar series, which are both in the same world, the key factor for me in my preference there is because of Thea and Wilder. I don't know what it is. Their relationship just really sings to me. Their coupledom, I guess, is just relatable. It feels authentic. It feels real. I was yearning with them. They're both really hot. I don't know. Thea and Wilder. But also, Callum and Blake, who technically are not a couple, but might as well be. I haven't quite finished reading book 2 at the time that I'm filming this. By the time I've uploaded it, I will have finished book 2 in this series. And I still don't know if that will be resolved. There's a bit of a love triangle going on at the minute. But honestly, all this Team Callum, Team Blake, I just think Team everybody should kiss each other. And Callum and Blake do argue like a married couple. So also Callum and Blake. Next up is my favourite main characters of the year, and I could have included these two in my favourite couple of the year, but I decided to include them for this category instead. And this is Effie and Preston from The World of a Study in Drowning. A Theory of Dreaming came out this year, and I was so excited, and when I read this I really loved getting back into Effie and Preston's world. Getting to spend more time with Effie and Preston, who were my favourite characters when I first read A Study in Drowning, like a couple years ago at this point, was really enjoyable. I can't really say I loved getting back into this world because it's a difficult one, but I was reminded of just how much I resonated with Effie and just how much I loved Preston's story when I dove back into book 2. I actually did a reread of book 1 before getting into book 2, and it was just nice to spend some more time with these characters, which are some of my favourites of all time. The next question is a new favourite author that I discovered this year, and again, I could have said Helen Scheurer, but I wanted to offer you guys variety. So instead I have gone with Bria Boleyn, who wrote the Bloodwing Academy series. On Wings of Blood and The Bond That Burns were two of my favourite books this year, and I have just found that Bria Boleyn's style of writing is right up my alley. I almost just dropped a proof on the floor. That would have been horrific. Can you imagine watching it get destroyed, like live on camera? And again, okay, you're going down somewhere. There we go. There is just something about Bria's writing style that I really vibe with, and I'm now going to be looking to read some of Bria's backlog in 2026. Backlist. Her previous books, I don't know why I said backlog. It's a backlog for me because I haven't read them yet. Bria's backlist. I feel like our senses of humour align. I found this really hot. The spice was spicing. The pace and the style of storytelling was really entertaining to me. Me and Bria, we just vibed. We just vibed this year. In contrast to this, the next question is author that didn't quite work out for me this year. And again, I feel bad kind of picking this one. There were a few where I was like, this author is somebody that I usually really love, but I've read a book from them this year that didn't quite hit as hard. But actually, I ended up going with a new to me author, and that was Dana Schwartz or Dana Schwartz. I read Anatomy and Immortality earlier this year, and from the blurb and like everything I'd heard about the series, I was really expecting to love this. And again, it was fine. It was okay. Book 1, in my opinion, was better than book 2. I don't think book 2 needed to exist. And it did surprise me at times. It was like quite a nice introduction to the author, especially book 1. But I don't know, these have kind of just gone to the back of my mind with all of the books that I've read this year. These haven't particularly stood out for me. And I just don't think I would be in like the biggest rush to read another book by Dana Schwartz. Not because I don't think these are good books. Like again, they were fine. I don't know, they just didn't grip me. They haven't stayed with me as long as some of the other stories have. So this author personally didn't work out for me in like being a new favourite author or somebody I'm going to gravitate towards again. But again, I know this duology is quite popular, so maybe I am in the minority of not enjoying these ones so much. Next up is the happiest book I've read this year, and whilst I was really happy reading this book and I did a lot of laughing and smiling, I don't know necessarily that the characters or the storyline was particularly happy, but it's Mate by Ali Hazelwood. In fact, any Ali Hazelwood book, and there's just something about Ali Hazelwood, I'm just happy in her company. I also really enjoyed Hot for Slayer. That one was one of the 6 like sexy Halloween novellas that they did with Amazon. That one also I was smiling and laughing a lot through. So even though I don't necessarily think the story of this is like super happy, super smiley, super friendly, like it deals with some pretty heavy topics and has some like longing going on in there. It's not like Sunshine and Daisies, I guess is what I'm trying to say, but I laughed, I smiled. I had such a good time with Ali Hazelwood this year. I'm really excited to read the other one that's released this year, Bait. I haven't got around to that just yet, but I went with Mate. I spent a lot of time smiling. My cheeks were hurting. In contrast, the next question is the saddest book I read this year. Again, this is a bit of a misnomer for me, I guess. This book wasn't particularly sad. It wasn't that the storyline was particularly sad. I did a lot of sad crying at this book. The book is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. There's something about like the inevitability of these character situations and the ending, and like particularly that last 20%. Oh my god, I was sobbing for hours. For weeks afterwards, I was crying, and then I met Rebecca Ross and played it really cool, and then as soon as she left, I cried again. Divine Rivals did this to me as well. Even though Divine Rivals wasn't particularly like sad, it wasn't like the world's saddest story. There were just parts of it that really got to me, particularly the beginning of Divine Rivals. But I read that last year, so that's out of the running, so I went with Wild Reverence. Rebecca Ross just knows how to like break me apart and slowly piece me together again, but still leave a piece missing at the end. I love you, but you did cause me a lot of trauma, and I think I now need therapy. Next up is the book I found the most frustrating this year, and okay, let's do a bit of context. So this is a book in a series where I have loved the previous books. It is a book by an author whose previous works I have enjoyed. This one just, oh my god, I just did not like. I was just like hate reading it at one point. I was like, I've just got to finish it. I'm that far through it. I enjoyed the first like 30-40%, I want to say, and then I just kind of didn't enjoy the rest of the story. But it was frustrating in a way that I was like, I've loved the others so much. So the fact that this is really falling for me was so sad. The book is Hunger in His Blood by Zoe Draven. I'm so sorry, Zoe Draven. I absolutely love the other two, and I have also really enjoyed oh my god, what is the newer Zoe Draven series? Not the Captive of the Horde King one. I haven't read that one yet. The other series. My mind has gone blank. That one I've enjoyed book 1 of as well, but this series in particular, this series was my favourite Zoe Draven series. I adored book 1 and book 2. They were fantastic. There was just something about this one. I think it was the female main character really frustrated me. I just didn't like her as a character, and again, this is all complete personal preference. I know some people, this is their favourite book in the whole series, but this was one of those books where I got like 60% in and I was frustrated, A, because I'd loved the other ones so much and this just wasn't quite living up to those, but B, because I was like ready to move on to something. I think looking back, I probably should have just DNF'd this, and maybe that's why I found it so frustrating, is because I should have just put it down and moved on to something else. But I was determined. I was like, look, I have a commitment to this series. I have been loving this series. I have got to finish this book, and I did. I just didn't particularly enjoy it compared to the others. I'm so sorry, Zoe, I did enjoy your other books. The next question I really struggled with, and it was the best book adaptation of the year. I don't know what's happened this year. I couldn't really find an answer for this one. I haven't been to see any of the book to film adaptations that are like new out. Oh, I tell a lie, I really enjoyed the Frankenstein film. The difficulty is with that being my answer is I have never read Mary Shelley's original like text Frankenstein, the book, so I don't know how the film measured up to the book specifically, but I really, really enjoyed the film. So I'm hoping that's a good answer. I don't know, have you guys seen Frankenstein yet? I feel like it's kind of been going viral. And then one I haven't seen yet, but that I am really excited to, is The Hunger Games on Stage. I, by the time I've uploaded this, will have gone to watch that. However, currently I'm getting very excited to do so. I'm going in a few weeks. I don't know, I feel like that's maybe the most unique book to something adaptation. It's going to be a stage show, but also as a theatre graduate, I just feel like that was always going to be my answer. I would like more books to theatre adaptations, please. I'm hoping I'm going to enjoy it. I really think I am. The Hunger Games is one of my favourite like nostalgic series that I used to read a lot when I was younger. And from what I've seen of the stage show, I think I'm really going to vibe with it as well. It looks very different. So those are my two answers. Frankenstein, even though I haven't read the book, and The Hunger Games on Stage, even though I haven't gone to see it just yet. The next question is my favourite book covers of the year. There was a lot in the running for this, but I've actually decided to go for something that I don't think any of you are going to expect. I've specifically not counted special editions because obviously all of them are beautiful. I don't actually think this is an unpopular opinion, but there is something about the kind of newer books coming out from Emma Hamm that have the most beautiful illustrated covers. So my mind straight went to A Darkness So Sweet, but also this goes for the Whispers of the Deep series. I can't remember how many books in this series came out this year. I think the only one I've read this year is Call of the Fathoms, which is book 4. Correct me if I'm wrong, and actually book 3 came out this year as well, but I have read all of them now. But there's just something about these book covers design, like the character art is immaculate. I don't know if I can show you that a bit closer up. They're just beautiful. I mean, this one is like a special edition paperback. It has the foiling, but even so, like the character art, this is the usual cover. It just has foiling on it because it's the signing exclusive. And again, the same for the Whispers of the Deep. I don't know, something about these feels kind of old-timey, but in a way that I love. They feel like quite classic monster romance. I don't know. It's the art style, it's the character art, it's the fact that the background is like the whole way around. Even the backs of these have like parts of the scenery on. They're beautiful. My vote goes to Emma Hamm's books, but specifically A Darkness So Sweet and the Whispers of the Deep series. The next question is a book I haven't stopped thinking about in 2025, and again, Blood and Steel could have been an answer for this because I read it in January and it's followed me. It's followed me throughout the year. And then there was lots of other books that I really, really enjoyed that I haven't been able to stop thinking about just because of how good they were, but most of those books are going to be covered in my top 10 books of the year video. So I went with one that didn't quite make that list, but that I do keep thinking about, and that is Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. The reason I keep thinking about this, I mean for multiple reasons. A, it was good. It was a good book. But B, like I don't know what happened. I didn't know what was going on for the most of it in a good way. I was really, really happy to not have a clue what was happening. But I keep thinking about it and I'm like, were there signs? Was there clues? Did I miss something? And I feel like this is one of those things I'm going to reread. I'm going to go, it was there. I just didn't know what I know now to be able to spot that. So this one has kept me going like back and forth on like, every now and again I'll just be sat and I'll be working. I'll be like, oh my God, but what if? What did I miss? Who did I miss? Who, what, when, where, why and how. It was good, and that's one reason I still think about this one, mainly just because I didn't see this book coming. The next question is an unpopular book that I have loved. I couldn't really think of any books this year that had been truly like unpopular, and I'm counting unpopular as like nobody likes them. I'm just seeing hate for the book. However, I've gone with a book that I do think was pretty split, and that is Shield of Sparrows. I love this book. I have lots of friends that also love this book. I don't know if there's that much hate around this now, but I know when this book first came out, people were either really, really obsessed with it or really did not vibe with it. Like, it was very polarizing. People were saying it was great, it was fantastic. Other people were saying it was overhyped. I was so nervous going into reading this because I absolutely adore Daphne Perry. This actually released in the US before it released in the UK. So I did get a proof copy and I read it before the UK release, but I was so nervous reading it because Daphne Perry's one of my favourite romance authors. I was just like, oh no, am I going to hate it? Because I was seeing all of this like negative, it's overhyped, it's not good. A lot of people were saying it felt copy and pasted, and I like could not disagree more. She was fantastic. She was great. I loved her. Shield of Sparrows was amazing. And I think now the initial hype of the book has kind of died down a bit. It's been out a few months. I think I definitely see way more positive stuff about this one now than I do negative. But certainly at the time of release, it released at the same time as Silver Elite, and that was having the same thing where like 50% of the reviews I was seeing loved it, 50% did not. So I guess this is the most controversial one, but even saying that, like, this has a really good Goodreads score. People do like this book. I just think at the time of release it was quite a polarizing book in the community maybe. This next book is the worst feeling of all of them, and it's a book that I thought I'd love but didn't. Now, again, context is important here, and I didn't dislike this book. I just thought I was going to be obsessed with it, and it was just fine. The book is Eldritch by Kerry Lake. Look, I loved Anathema. I've also really enjoyed other things from Kerry Lake, like Nocticardia is one of my favourite gothic romances. I said it earlier in the video. However, like, what happened in this one? I feel like the critique of my critique of this book is going to be that, like, it was important to tell parts of the backstory, and, like, I absolutely agree, it was great to have that context, but I don't know, there just didn't really seem to be much happening in this book. I thought with the way book one ended, I was, like, geared up, I was ready, I was raring to go, and I got about 20% into this book, and I was like, oh. Like, fine, it was good. I rated this one 3 stars, I think, but I did enjoy Anathema a lot more. I will be continuing the series because generally this world, the characters, I do really enjoy them. But yeah, there was just something about you. I don't know, it took me ages to read. I think it took me a week and a half or 2 weeks, which I usually finish a book within like 3 or 4 days. So it's not put me off Kerry Lake, and it's not put me off the rest of this series. I just think not much happened, and at the end of book 1 I was like ready and raring to go, and it just felt like a slower pace and a bit of a step back that I personally as a reader didn't really vibe with. But I'm still gonna love the rest of the series, I think, so you're staying on my shelf. I don't hate you, I just didn't love you as much as I thought I would. Next up is the book with the most unique concept, and again there was quite a few options for this. I really enjoyed Arcana Academy as a choice for this because I like the unique magic system in that one, but honestly the most unique book that I've read all year was The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I've said this before about One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, but I just feel like she's got a little something wacky and weird happening in her books. Everything about this one was a little bit odd in that like classic Rachel Gillig way that I love. The romance was weird, the 2 main characters were weird, the magic system was wacky and weird and odd and magical. Setting was odd, ending was odd, big reveal was odd. Like, all of it was fantastic. Odd is not a bad word here, but just so individual, so unique. I can't think of anything really that I've read that's like this. I have compared this quite a bit to Sacred Space Between before, but only on the elements of the religious trauma that's explored. Definitely between the 2, the magic systems aren't the same or anything like that. So I think whilst there's elements of this I can see in other books, this is the only thing that feels like this. The next question is a book I've read this year that I would reread, and this is a question that I've saved blood and steel for because I am planning to do a full Legends of Thesmar reread as soon as I can. I have wanted to reread the series this year already, but I have managed to put myself off. I guilt myself a lot for rereading, and I think it's because there's so many books on my TBR, there's so many books out there that I haven't read yet, that whenever I want to reread something, I go, no, put it down, you can reread it another time, you've got all these books that are coming out that you need to review, or like all these books that all your friends are raving about, you've got to read those. And I just need to stop guilting myself out of rereading, because honestly I think if I'd managed to fit in a reread of this book, I would have loved it even more. I might treat myself in January to a reread. Another series that I haven't reread in a number of years is Throne of Glass, which is my favourite series of all time, maybe tied with this. So I think we'll get on to that, but I feel like next year I'm going to be a bit more gentle to myself when it comes to rereading. And I think it's an anxiety response, honestly. I love rereading books, but I think it's because I know what I'm getting in for, and I know what to expect, and I know I'm going to get all the warm fuzzies again, you know? The next part of this tag is to reflect on my 2025 Goodreads goal and have a think about my 2026 one. I'm going to say, actually, this is the year that I stepped away a bit from Goodreads. I've still been tracking all of my reads on there, but I have been using other apps. So I have more recently been using Fable and enjoying that, particularly because I now have my Fable book club on there. But actually, I'm kind of obsessed with Bookly. I don't really use the social features of Fable and Goodreads. I'm not really sharing posts or written reviews on there because I do that on my social platforms. So I kind of love Bookly because there's no social element to it. It's just for me, and I can like track how long I've been reading for. It gives me like all the nerdy stats about like my average pages read per hour over the year, and like it breaks it down by genre a little bit like Fable does. There's something about the Bookly app. Doesn't matter, I set my Goodreads goal and I just carried my Goodreads goal across to those other apps. It's actually my second full year of using Bookly, and I pay for it as well. I have like the Bookly Pro account and I really enjoy it. But Goodreads this year, I set myself a goal of 120 books, and I'm filming this before the end of the year, so future me, I hope you reach it. I am currently on track to do so. I think I'm 1 book behind, but I am just about to finish up on a book, so I think I will reach it. I have actually reduced my reading goal over the years. I think 2 years ago it was 200, last year it was 150, and this year I set it as 120, which has felt much more comfortable. I'm just in a very different place in my life this year than I have been in other years, and my free time has dwindled. Like, I have more responsibility at work and I've been doing a lot more in the bookish space, so I just don't have as much time to read anymore. But also I think for 2 years I became so hyper focused on reading that a lot of my other hobbies kind of got pushed to the side. But this is the year that I've picked up knitting, and this this is a year that I've been playing paddle with my husband, and this is a year I've really thrown myself back into gaming. I've been gaming on and off for the past couple, but this year I've definitely put a lot more time into that. So it feels like I found a nice balance between reading lots of books so I can talk about lots of books to you guys and getting through my like never-ending TBR, but also like having time for other things. So I'm probably going to keep the same goal as 120 for next year. I will say this year I thought 120 was going to be easy, and I have definitely slowed down and allowed myself to have that space because the goal was 120. But I've still beat myself up about it if I've been like, at one point I was 6 books behind and I was like, oh my god, I'm never going to catch up with this reading goal. So I'm going to set it at 120 for next year because I think that is a good pace for me, and I'm envisaging next year to be very similar to this year. However, I'm probably not going to be as harsh on myself. If I get to 100 or if I get to 80, that's what I get to. Final 2 questions, and the first one up is books I wish I had gotten to this year. I've actually picked 2 for this. They're both series. One is finished, one is not. This first one is a series I have been meaning to read for well over a year. I have various editions of these books. They are gorgeous as well. And also this is just compared to all the books I love, and I keep getting told by you guys I'm going to enjoy this, and I've just been finding excuse after excuse after excuse to not pick it up. First it was that it wasn't finished, then it said it was going through traditional publishing. Anyway, the book is Lady of Darkness, but more specifically the whole series, the whole Lady of Darkness series. I wish... oh, hello, there's things in here. This is what I was so desperate to get to this year, and I just didn't, but it is fine. It is right at the top of my list for 2026. In fact, I might embark on this as like my January read. For the last few years, I've always found like some of my favourite books in January. So this year I had Blood and Steel. I think whenever I read Ember in the Ashes, that was probably 2 years ago now, but that was in January. So I have high hopes for you, and you're going in my January TBR probably. This is what I wish I got to. I really feel bad that I haven't read this yet. I'm pretty confident I should probably read it. Also, I'm seeing the author twice next year, and I'm going to want to pick up the rest of these. They're not signing exclusives, they're like the author's specific exclusives that she does at signings and on her website, but because I'm not in the US, it's quite expensive to ship, so if I can grab them at signings, I will. I'm determined to read that, I guess, before I spend all those money on all of those editions. And then another one that I had absolutely every intention of reading as it's come out, but I've somehow just not done, is Dear Reader by Tate James. Look, I'm a huge Tate James fan. I remember them launching book 1, and I didn't get a proof of book 1. I did ask for one, but it's fine. And then book 1 came out, and I was so excited, and I had a pre-order that I, thinking back, never received. I think I ended up cancelling that order and not realising the book was on it, or like it must have been in an order with something else that I cancelled. Anyway, I just forgot this book released, and then I've blinked and now the first 3 books are out. So I think you're going to be a book for next year, early January. But I'm sad I haven't got around to it. I love Tate James. I really enjoy their Madison Kate, their Hades. I've read their fantasy one as well, but I definitely prefer their contemporary stuff. And this one sounds like it's going to be my favourite just based on the blurb and the story. So I really wish I would have made time to read you. I don't know how I blinked and they were all out. And then the last question in this tag is, what will I prioritise in 2026? I didn't know if this meant what books will I prioritise, which I guess the 2 that I've just spoken about. So I wanted to look at this more kind of what just generally will I be prioritising in 2026. So I will actually be filming a video in the new year looking at all of my new year bookish resolutions, and I think some of these things might form more specific resolutions, but just to briefly cover them, I definitely want to listen to more audiobooks. That was one that I had for this year, and it's definitely one I've accomplished. I listened to more audiobooks this year than I did last year, but actually I'm really enjoying listening to them, and that's one of the tools I've been using, I guess, to give me more time to look at some of these other hobbies. So I definitely want to invest more of my time into audiobooks next year. And I kind of mentioned this earlier, but the other thing I want to prioritise in terms of reading in 2026 is being kinder to myself when it comes to rereads. Reread the book, Becca. It doesn't matter if it's a month full of books that you've reread, that could be new books that you could be reviewing for people. You can reread the things that make you happy. And I'm talking to future me. Put the book down if you don't want to read the book. DNF the book. DNF more. There we go. Those are my 3 priorities. Listen to more audiobooks, DNF more, and allow myself to reread and stop feeling guilty about it. I will do a full like New Year's bookish resolutions video, so keep an eye out for that too. And that is the end of year bookish tag for 2025. As I said at the beginning of the video, I tag all of you, so if you want to go and film one of these of your own, I will leave all of the categories or questions in the description of this video. But that is it from me today, so make sure you are liking, leaving me that comment, and subscribing if you like this video. If you like this video, you might like my others, so by subscribing you'll get notified every time I do an upload. At the minute that has been weekly. I've been doing really good at staying on top of my YouTube uploads, but other than that, I will see you